Have you ever felt like you're pouring your entire soul into a relationship only to hit an invisible, icy wall? You're giving everything, your time, your energy, your love, and instead of a warm, open heart in return, you're met with a chilling distance you just can't explain. You reach out and they pull away. You try to get closer and they create more space. You start asking yourself, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not enough? Let me tell you something right now, Steo! Stop blaming yourself. This isn't about your worth. This isn't about your ability to love. This is about a pattern, a powerful, unconscious pattern of self-protection that is so ingrained, so automatic that it creates a fortress around the heart of the woman you care about. And you, with your flame of passion and commitment, are constantly trying to melt walls that were built for survival, not for connection. Imagine you're a lighthouse, beaming a brilliant, steady light across a stormy sea, guiding ships to safety. But what if the ship you're trying to guide has decided that every light is a threat? What if its captain has been shipwrecked before and now believes that staying far away from any shore, any beacon, is the only way to stay safe? So it sails in endless, lonely circles in the dark, mistaking your rescue beam for a dangerous reef. That's what's happening here. Your love is the lighthouse. Her avoidant attachment is that ship terrified of coming to port. Today that ends. Today we go from confusion to clarity, from pain to power, from chasing to choosing. I'm going to hand you the map, not to break down her fortress, because that's her journey, but to navigate these waters with your heart intact, your sanity secure, and your power fully reclaimed. Get ready to identify the 6 hidden signs and unlock the strategies to protect the most important asset you have in any relationship. You meet her, and the connection is electric. The conversations are deep, the laughter is genuine, and for a few beautiful, fleeting moments, you feel like you've finally found her, the real her. She shares a vulnerability, a story from her past, a dream she's held close. You feel the walls come down and you think, this is it, we're connecting. But then, like a phantom, it vanishes. The next day or even the next hour, she's distant, cool, almost a different person. You're left bewildered, replaying those moments of intimacy, trying to figure out what you did to cause this shift. You didn't do anything. What you experienced was not a genuine, sustained opening, but what I call an intimacy spike. For an avoidant individual, true, consistent closeness is terrifying. It feels like a loss of self, a threat to their independence. So they will occasionally allow these intense bursts of connection. It satisfies their own fleeting human need for bonding, but it's immediately followed by a corrective, compensatory pullback. This pullback is essential for them to re-establish their sense of autonomy and safety. You, however, are left hooked. Your brain, craving the dopamine hit of that beautiful connection, now goes into problem-solving mode. You start thinking, if I can just recreate the conditions of that moment, if I say the right thing, plan the perfect date, be extra supportive, I can get her back to that open place. My friend, you are now chasing a phantom. You are trying to bottle lightning. This cycle of intense connection followed by profound withdrawal is the core addictive pattern that will bleed you dry emotionally. It's designed to keep you off balance, forever striving for a prize that is always moved just out of reach. The key to protecting your heart here is radical awareness. You must see this pattern not as a personal rejection of you, but as her internal conflict between the human need for love and the deep-seated fear of engulfment. Stop focusing on the high of the spike and start observing the consistency of her presence in the low moments. Does she show up when it's mundane, when it's difficult, when it's not emotionally charged and exciting? That is the true measure of availability, not the phantom moments of intense, unsustainable intimacy. Your mission is to break the addiction to the spike. When she pulls away after a moment of closeness, do not chase. Do not double text asking if everything is okay. Do not try to fix the distance. Hold your ground, maintain your own energy, and focus on your own life. Let her feel the natural consequence of her withdrawal, which is the absence of your pursuit. This is the first and most critical step in rewiring this dynamic and reclaiming your power from the ghost of a connection that never truly was. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship, but with an avoidant partner, it becomes a minefield of coded messages and emergency exits. You need to become a master linguist in the language of walls. The most common phrase, the one we've all heard, is "I need space." On the surface, it sounds reasonable, healthy even. Everyone needs alone time. But in the lexicon of avoidance, "I need space" is rarely a simple request for a quiet evening to read a book. It is a systemic shutdown. It is the emotional equivalent of pulling a fire alarm when the room has just gotten a little warm. It's a blanket statement used to halt any form of emotional encroachment, whether it's a simple question about your future together or a minor conflict that needs resolving. Other translations of this language include, "It's not you, it's me," which is often partially true, but used as a conversation ender, not a starter for healing. "I'm just really busy with work right now," suddenly, and as a permanent state of being. And the classic, "I'm not ready for a serious relationship," often discovered after you've been acting like you're in one. The subtext is always the same: your proximity is causing me to feel suffocated, and I must create distance to survive. When you hear these phrases, your instinct is to respect them immediately, to prove you're not needy, to be the cool guy who gives her all the space she wants. But this is where you lose. Unconditional space without communication is a vacuum that will only grow larger. The key is not to deny the request, but to reframe it. Your response must come from a place of strength, not punishment. Instead of a pleading, "What did I do?" or a passive, "Okay, no problem," you step into an empowered frame. You could say, "I hear you need space, and I respect that. For this to work for me, I need to understand what that looks like for you. Is this a few days to decompress, or are we talking about a fundamental need for a level of distance that makes a committed relationship impossible?" This does two things. It shows you respect her needs without abandoning your own, and it forces clarity out of the vagueness. It calls the game. Often, the avoidant person doesn't have a clear answer because the feeling is primal, not logical. By asking for a definition, you are protecting your heart by refusing to be left in an emotional purgatory. You are establishing that your needs for clarity and consistency are just as valid as her need for space. You are moving from a supplicant to a sovereign man who is assessing if her behavior works for him. You are not just in a relationship with her, you are in a relationship with her past. For the avoidant woman, history is not a series of events to be learned from. It's a living, breathing prison warden that dictates her every move in the present. She may have had a childhood where her caregivers were emotionally absent, inconsistent, or where independence was prized above connection. She learned a devastating lesson early on. To need someone is to be disappointed. To rely on someone is to be let down. Therefore, I must only rely on myself. This isn't a conscious decision, it's a survival blueprint etched into her nervous system. Every time you move closer, danger loss of the ghosts of her past, the distant father, the critical mother, the ex who betrayed her, are in the room with you every single day. They whisper that you cannot be trusted, that your love is a trap, that eventually you will hurt her, abandon her, or swallow her whole. And so, she preemptively hurts you. She abandons you emotionally before she can be abandoned. She creates distance to avoid being engulfed. Understanding this is absolutely critical for protecting your heart. It allows you to depersonalize her behavior. Her withdrawal is not about the man you are. It's about the ghosts she hasn't confronted. Her fear of commitment is not a statement on your value as a partner. It's a reflex from a time when commitment meant pain. However, and this is a massive however, understanding is not the same as excusing. Your compassion must have boundaries. You can have empathy for the wounded child she once was without sacrificing the needs of the adult man you are today. Many men fall into the trap of becoming a therapist boyfriend, thinking that if they can just love her enough, be patient enough, understand enough, they can heal her wounds and free her from that prison. This is a noble but devastating fantasy. You cannot do her work for her. The prison door is locked from the inside. Your role is not to pick the lock. Your role is to decide if you are willing to stand outside that prison, waiting for a freedom she may never choose for herself. Protecting your heart means realizing that her past is her responsibility to heal, not your burden to carry. It means loving her where she is, but not staying where you are not valued and met. You can offer support, but you must demand a partner who is actively working on her stuff, not just using it as a justification for inflicting pain. This is the engine of the addictive cycle. The hot and cold dynamic is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. It's a powerful psychological pull that creates what is known as an intermittent reinforcement schedule. This is a term from behavioral psychology that explains why gambling is so addictive. When a reward is given unpredictably, sometimes a pull on the slot machine gives a jackpot, sometimes it gives nothing. The brain becomes obsessed. It's far more powerful than a consistent reward. In this relationship, her warmth and availability are the jackpot. 1 week she is hot, affectionate, engaged, planning future dates, making you feel like the most important man in the world. You breathe a sigh of relief and think, finally, we're back on track. Then, without any discernible reason, the cold front moves in. Texts go unanswered for hours, plans become vague, her energy is closed off and distant. Your nervous system goes into a state of high alert. Your stomach is in knots. You are desperate to get back to the hot phase. This roller coaster is designed to keep you disoriented and striving. It prevents you from ever finding solid ground because the moment you feel secure, the floor drops out from under you. Your entire emotional state becomes dependent on her current temperature. To protect your heart, you must get off the ride. This requires a profound internal shift. You must become the thermostat, not the thermometer. A thermometer reacts to the temperature of its environment. It goes up and down based on the external climate. A thermostat sets the temperature. It defines the environment. You become the thermostat by standardizing your own emotional output. When she is hot, you receive it warmly and appreciatively, but you do not let it inflate your ego or your anxiety. You stay steady. When she is cold, you do not frantically try to turn up the heat. You do not become cold in return out of spite, but you calmly and confidently maintain your own warmth and focus on your own mission, your own friends, your own life. You show her through your actions that her emotional volatility will not dictate your inner peace. Your value is constant, regardless of her current mood. This is incredibly difficult, but it is the only way to break the spell. When you stop reacting to the push-pull, you rob the dynamic of its power. You communicate that you are a man of stable, consistent value, and you will not be emotionally manipulated, consciously or unconsciously, by someone else's instability. In a healthy relationship, conflict is a form of friction that creates growth, understanding, and deeper intimacy. It's the process of two individuals sanding down their rough edges to fit together more perfectly. In a relationship with an avoidant woman, conflict doesn't happen. It gets assassinated before it can even draw breath. You bring up a minor concern, maybe she canceled plans last minute, and instead of a discussion, you are met with what can only be described as an emotional evacuation. She might shut down completely, stonewalling you with silence. She might become hyper, logical, and dismissive, telling you you're overreacting or being too sensitive. She might physically leave the room or the conversation. This is known as conflict avoidance, and it is a silent killer of relationships. For her, any form of disagreement or negative emotion feels like a catastrophic threat. It represents a potential for rejection or a loss of control, so she flees the battlefield entirely. The problem for you is that your legitimate feelings and concerns are now buried alive. They don't die, they fester. You start to walk on eggshells, suppressing your needs to maintain a fragile peace. You tell yourself it's not a big deal, but over time, these unaddressed issues pile up into a mountain of resentment and loneliness. You are in a relationship, but you feel profoundly alone because you cannot share your full emotional experience. Protecting your heart here requires you to become a master of calm, non-blaming communication, but also to have a zero-tolerance policy for emotional abandonment. When you have something important to discuss, frame it using I statements. I felt disappointed when our plans changed last night because I was really looking forward to seeing you. If she begins to shut down, you can gently name the pattern. I notice that when I bring up things that bother me, it seems to make you want to withdraw. My intention is not to attack you, but to understand you better and feel closer to you. If she continues to evade, you must be willing to state your boundary clearly. I understand this is uncomfortable, but for me to feel safe and connected in this relationship, we need to be able to talk about difficult things. If we can't, then this isn't a functional partnership for me. This is not about starting a fight, it's about demanding a fundamental requirement for intimacy. If she is incapable of engaging, you have your answer. A relationship without conflict is not a peaceful relationship, it's a dead one. or one that is dying a slow, quiet death by 1,000 unspoken cuts. On the surface, an avoidant woman can seem incredibly strong and independent. She has her career, her hobbies, her friends, her life perfectly in order. She doesn't need a man, and initially this can be very attractive. It feels like you found a true partner, not a dependent. But soon, you realize this isn't healthy interdependence, it's a fortified island of one. This is what I call the independence illusion. It's not true strength, it's a defense mechanism masquerading as a virtue. True strength includes the courage to be vulnerable, to need others, to intertwine lives. Her version of independence is a preemptive strike against the possibility of ever needing anyone. She will fiercely guard her autonomy, making it clear that her life, her schedule, her decisions are hers alone. Suggestions from you can feel like intrusions. Offers of help can feel like insults. Planning a future together can feel like a hostile takeover of her identity. This creates a relationship that feels more like a loose affiliation than a united team. You are two separate entities orbiting each other, but never truly merging. To protect your heart, you must discern between a woman who chooses to be independent and a woman who is compelled by fear to be independent. The first is a healthy expression of self. The second is a barrier to intimacy. You cannot compete with this illusion, nor should you try to prove that she needs you. Instead, you must focus on building a life of such compelling purpose and fulfillment that her inclusion is a wonderful addition, not a necessity for your survival. You must demonstrate your own independence. When she sees that you have a full, vibrant life that does not revolve around her, that you have your own mission, your own passions, your own social circle, it does two things. First, it removes the pressure from her, which can paradoxically make her feel safer to come closer. Second, and more importantly, it protects you. It ensures that if this relationship ends, you are not left with nothing. You are left with you, a strong, complete, and empowered man who is capable of both deep connection and sovereign independence. When an avoidant partner withdraws, the silence isn't just empty space, it's an active, painful process for you and a necessary recalibration for her. Understanding the anatomy of this withdrawal is key to not taking it personally and not spiraling into anxiety. For her, the withdrawal is a deactivation strategy. Something triggered her fear of intimacy. It could have been a simple act of closeness, a future-oriented question, or even just a period of sustained happiness that felt too vulnerable. Her system flags this as engulfment and the internal alarm sound. She will then begin to selectively focus on your flaws or minor irritants. That thing you do that she used to find endearing. Now it's annoying. A small mistake you made is magnified into a major character flaw. This is not because you have suddenly become a bad partner. It's a cognitive trick her mind plays to create a justification for the distance it craves. It's her psyche's way of building a case for why she shouldn't be too close to you. She is actively convincing herself that you are not the one, or that something is missing, to rationalize the uncomfortable feeling of closeness. Meanwhile, you are in the silence, and your mind is racing in the opposite direction. You're thinking, what did I do? How can I fix this? If I just send a caring text, maybe I can pull her back. This is the worst thing you can do. Your pursuit during her withdrawal only confirms her deepest fear, that you are a threat to her autonomy. It's like trying to hug someone who is claustrophobic. Your embrace, though meant with love, feels like a suffocating trap. To protect your heart, you must not follow her into the silence. Do not chase, do not try to reason with the deactivation. The only way to win this game is not to play. When she withdraws, you must give her the space she is implicitly demanding, but you do it from a place of unshakable self-worth, not punishment. You turn your focus 180 degrees back onto your own life. Go to the gym. Immerse yourself in your work. Go out with your friends. Let her feel the full weight of her withdrawal. Let her sit in the silence she created without you there to fill it with your anxiety. Often, when the pursuer stops pursuing, the withdrawer, curious and missing the connection, will begin to re-engage. But your goal is not to manipulate her into coming back. Your goal is to become so solid in yourself that her comings and goings no longer dictate your emotional weather. Throughout this entire dynamic, there is one constant, one variable you have complete control over. You. Your self-worth is the anchor that will hold you steady through every phantom intimacy, every request for space, every cold withdrawal. Without a solid anchor, you are a ship tossed about in her storm, completely at the mercy of her patterns. So, how do you build this anchor? It starts with a fundamental decision that your sense of worth, validation, and lovability comes from within, not from her behavior. You must define your value by your own code of conduct, your integrity, your mission, your kindness, your strength. You must get to a place where you can look in the mirror and say, I am a man of high value with a tremendous capacity to love and commit. If this woman cannot meet me at that level, it is her loss, not a reflection of my lack. This is not arrogance, it is the bedrock of emotional health. To operationalize this, you must have a life outside of the relationship that is so compelling and meaningful that the relationship is just one part of your beautiful mosaic, not the entire picture. What is your purpose? What are your goals? Who are the brothers who have your back? What are the hobbies that light you up? If you were to lose this relationship today, what would you still have? A powerful mission, a strong body, a sharp mind, a rich social life? If the answer is not much, then you have already given away all your power. Protecting your heart is an inside job. It means investing in yourself with the same intensity you've been investing in her. When you do this, your energy shifts. You become less needy, less anxious, less reactive. You stop tolerating behavior that disrespects your time and your heart because you know you have better places to be and a more important destiny to fulfill. You stop fearing loss because you know that you, at your core, are the prize. A woman's avoidance then becomes not a devastating problem to be solved, but a simple compatibility test that she is failing. In this dance, you have likely been cast in the role of the pursuer. You are the one initiating contact, planning dates, trying to solve problems, and striving for closeness. She is the distancer. The more you pursue, the more she distances. The more she distances, the more you pursue. It's a vicious, exhausting cycle. To break it, you must consciously and courageously change your role. You must stop being the pursuer and step into the role of the partner. A partner is an equal. A partner does not chase, he invites. A partner does not try to extract love, he radiates value and allows it to be reciprocated. This shift is not a manipulative tactic, it's a fundamental change in your identity within the relationship. It means you stop being the manager of her emotions and the relationship's climate. You stop sending the good morning texts every single day. You stop being the only one to initiate physical affection. You stop carrying the entire emotional weight of the partnership. You create a vacuum and see if she steps in to fill it. When you stop pursuing, one of two things will happen. Either she will, feeling the shift and perhaps missing your energy, begin to take initiative and step forward, thus creating a new, healthier dynamic. Or she will not. She will continue to remain distant, perfectly content with the lack of pursuit, confirming that she never truly wanted a partner, just someone to validate her from a safe distance. Either way, you win. You either get a more engaged partner or you get the clarity you need to walk away. Changing your role requires immense emotional discipline. There will be an uncomfortable withdrawal period where the silence screams at you to go back to the old, familiar pattern. You must withstand this. Fill that time and energy with action towards your own goals. Become a man so focused on his mission that he doesn't have time to chase a woman who isn't enthusiastically meeting him halfway. This shift is the single most powerful practical step you can take to transform a toxic dynamic and reclaim your masculine power. After all this work, after you've identified the signs, set boundaries, built your self-worth, and shifted your role, you will arrive at the ultimate choice. Do you hold on or do you let go? This is not a decision to be made from a place of fear or lack, but from a place of brutal honesty and profound self-respect. You hold on only if you see tangible, consistent evidence of change. Is she acknowledging her patterns? Is she in therapy or actively working on her attachment style? Is she staying engaged during difficult conversations? Is the hot and cold cycle becoming less extreme? Is she making efforts to meet your needs for closeness without feeling suffocated? If you see a genuine, sustained effort, then there may be hope, and your patience can be an investment. However, you must let go if you see the same patterns repeating on an endless loop despite your best efforts to change the dance. You must let go if your core needs for intimacy, consistency, and emotional safety are consistently being treated as inconveniences. You must let go if the relationship is costing you your peace, your self-esteem, and your joy. Letting go is not a failure. It is the ultimate act of self-love. It is you declaring to the universe, I love myself too much to stay in a situation that diminishes my light. It is you making space for a woman who is not afraid of your love, who is capable of receiving the depth you have to offer, and who will run with you towards a shared future, not away from you in fear. Protecting your heart isn't just about setting boundaries within the relationship, it's also about having the courage to close the door on a love that hurts, so you can open yourself to the love that truly honors you. So where do we land after this deep dive into the heart of the storm? We land on the unshakable ground of your own 2 feet. This journey was never about changing her, it was about awakening you. It was about handing you the keys to your own emotional freedom, showing you that the patterns you thought were mysterious are, in fact, predictable, and the pain you thought was your fault was a reflection of a deep-seated fear that lives within her, not a deficiency within you. You now possess the map. You can see the 6 hidden signs for what they are, not personal rejections, but the defensive maneuvers of a heart that learned long ago that love and pain are intertwined. You can recognize the phantom of intimacy for the illusion it is. You can decode the language of walls without losing your voice, and you can understand that her past is a prison she must choose to leave on her own. This knowledge alone robs the dynamic of its power to confuse and disorient you. Armed with this clarity, your path forward is one of empowered action. You are no longer a passive passenger on her emotional roller coaster. You are the man who can choose to get off the ride. You become the thermostat, setting the temperature of your own life with your unwavering self-worth. You shift from the desperate energy of the pursuer to the grounded, powerful presence of a partner, an equal who invites connection but does not chase after it. This transformation requires immense courage. It demands that you look in the mirror and decide, once and for all, that your need for a consistent, secure, and deeply intimate connection is not negotiable. It requires you to set boundaries not as punishments, but as proclamations of your self-respect. It means having the difficult conversations, holding the space during the withdrawals, and being willing to walk away if your fundamental conditions for a healthy relationship are not being met. Remember, the goal is not to build a fortress around your own heart in retaliation. The goal is to fortify the core of who you are so that you can still love openly and freely, but from a place of choice, not need. You protect your heart by making it so strong and so full of your own purpose that you become selective about who you allow into its sacred space. You become the gatekeeper of your own emotional kingdom. The journey with an avoidant woman is one of the most painful and confusing challenges a man can face in love, but it can also be your greatest teacher. It can forge within you a level of self-awareness, emotional strength, and personal sovereignty that will not only help you navigate this relationship, but will make you a better man for any relationship that follows, especially the one you have with yourself. Step into that power. The choice and the power have always been yours. Thank you for having the courage to go on this journey today. This is tough, vulnerable work, and the fact that you're here seeking answers shows the strength of your spirit. This is your first step toward taking your power back. Now, go out there and live it. I believe in you. Goodbye.